Yo, what is up? You have found We Like the Blazers. I am Brandon Mullen, and there with a bunch of hats behind him, it is Connor Bergen. Connor, what's up, man?
Yeah, thank you for shouting out my dad's hat collection. A lot of good stuff over there. Celtics hat. I tried to put the basketball hats in the frame. There's also like some car hats, you know. Dad, you're a dad now, so maybe you have some car hats.
No car hats yet. Do I see some Oregon Duck stuff? Is that what
some
those
Oregon
are?
Ducks,
no?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's going to be so excited that I mentioned this. I'm going to have to tell him about it. But yeah, Brandon, we're back.
Yeah,
and
we are back.
There's news. Things are kicking off. Media day. Let's get to it.
Yep, two things we want to talk about today. One of them is not so great. Scoot Henderson tears his hamstring out for a couple months. Second thing, you already mentioned it. It's Media Day. Connor, one of the two people in this call were actually at Media Day. I'll give you one guess as to who it was. We'll get to Media Day in a second. Let's start with Scoot. A couple days ago, it was announced that Scoot Henderson tore his hamstring during an off-season workout and is, quote, expected to return to basketball activities in 4 to 8 weeks. Connor, what say you about that? That's a very specific phrase that the team used.
Yeah, no, there's so much you can pick apart with the verbiage in team press releases and like what different things mean, and that return to basketball activities just was such a blow. Like that doesn't mean 4 to 8 weeks he's going to be on the court. It means, or like in games, it means in 4 to 8 weeks he's going to basically begin the process of ramping up to get back to games.
Right. And to be fair, I mean, that over the years, that has become more of what teams go to. Because Connor, I remember it used to be that teams would give an estimate when they think that they'll come back. And at least the last 2, 3, 4 years, maybe longer, they've been going to this like return to activities or will be reevaluated. Like they've gotten a lot less comfortable.
Specific, maybe, or...
Yeah, like a lot less comfortable even giving an estimate when the player will come back. On the one hand, you're like, understandable because you don't know how they're going to progress and you want to manage expectations. On the other hand, you know, does that mean, to your point, does that mean he'll be back on the court, you know, in December? Does it mean he'll be back on the court in 2026? You know, for a young player in his third season who has one more year before the franchise icon returns to the court himself from an Achilles injury in Damian Lillard, this seems like a bit of a blow to Scoot Henderson. What's like, how much should we be worried? Maybe not so much about like the time that he's going to miss is one thing, but like for his development as a player, like should we be concerned?
Yeah, I'll start with the...
Tell me how to feel, Connor.
Well, I'll start with the obligatory, it just sucks, because I was starting to get so amped up all summer, hearing about Scoot's workouts. Like, it was going to be one of the most interesting storylines of the year, was going to be to see if he could take this next big leap. And we're just robbed of it. Like, for pure entertainment and storyline standpoints, it's such a bummer that we don't get to see him out there. And there is a...
But hey, it's now we don't just have Parker. We also have Cassie. Hi, guys.
All in the family.
We're keeping it in the family, and we're doing it live.
We're still going.
Just like Bill O'Reilly, but...
Well, keep going. Well, to answer your more specific question of how to feel, it's a blow to Scoot. It's also a blow to the Blazers' decision-making and how they're going to be able to make that decision, because exactly like you said, Damian Lillard's going to be back next year. This was a pivotal year for Scoot and his development, but it was a pivotal year because the Blazers haven't really decided yet as if he's a huge part of the future. Like, they've set up some escape plans a little bit, or just... You know,
right.
It's not completely a done deal that they're building around Scoot, and this was going to be his year to show that they should.
Well, this makes me think of something, and I want to shout out our colleague, Adrian, who a couple of days ago wrote a think piece asking the question, should the Blazers trade for Lauri Markkanen? And in his proposal, he has the Blazers sending out Scoot Henderson as part of the value to entice Utah to make a deal. Markkanen had actually a couple of down years, and maybe his value is not where Utah would like it to be. They're probably not going to trade him until they rebuild his value. But to the point about how long will this injury last, and yes, the trade deadline, Connor, is in early February. And so if the Blazers are trying to rebuild the value of Jerami Grant, for example, we're going to talk about him in our media day section. The Blazers are trying to see what they have in Scoot Henderson, either to keep him or, frankly, to trade him. His being injured until, if it lasts until 2026, again, the trade deadline's in early February, it could really throw a wrench into those plans just from an evaluation standpoint. I'm just repeating what you said and putting it in my own voice because I love the sound of my own voice, Connor, as we know.
No, yeah, you're further contextualizing and reiterating because it's such an important point. It's all about data. I've been hearing so much about that the last few years. During a rebuild, you need to collect data on players, and when all these injuries have happened, it just muddies the water because you don't get the data to make as well of an informed decision.
Shout out to David Fisdale. Real ones know. Do you have any other thoughts or comments about the Scoot Henderson hamstring? I mean, sorry, I'm asking you, but I'll just say hamstring injuries are tricky, and they get tweaky and twingy and weird. And I do not want the team to rush him back from this. I don't think they will. But just to say, it's a funny little part of the old body there, the hamstring. It's not known. It is known for being temperamental, is what I'm trying to say.
Totally, and even when he does come back, I'm sure there's going to be some rust to work in. So it's there's even more. Just even when he returns, the data might not be as great as you would want it to be.
Right.
I did feel a little bit better after media day, and I know they're not going to say things are oh, it's bad. Just hearing Scoot's attitude, even from Scoot, I know he's not going to be brokenhearted or anything, but he's such a positive guy. But just hearing his attitude about it did make me feel better that, okay, he seems like this is just another obstacle and he's determined to get past it.
Connor Bergen drinking the team Kool-Aid. Bye, Parker. Bye, Cassie. Parker with the fresh diaper. If only we could be so lucky as to change our underwear multiple times a day. God knows I need it. Connor, you mentioned media day. Hopefully no one heard that part. Connor, you mentioned media day. So there was one big storyline that came from media day this year. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. Before we get to it, you mentioned Scoot. He looked upbeat. He looked positive. Besides the one big storyline, which we're going to talk about, which we're just going to keep a secret because we don't know what it is, was there anything else that jumped out to you, vibes-wise, narrative-wise? Was there obviously organizations, when they have big media events and sports teams are no exception to this, probably want to make sure that they're all on the same page about what they're talking about and how they're saying it. Was there anything that came up for you being there in person, reporting in person from Media Day, that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. The first thing was we all expected them to talk about defense and how defense is their identity, and they're going to keep trying to be a good defensive team. The part that was noteworthy though, is that Chauncey says they're revamping the offense, and they're going to do less pick and roll, more off-ball motion, play even faster. It sounded like they're trying to do basically a whole overhaul of what they've been doing. And he said that they brought in Thiago Splitter from Paris and Patrick St. Andrews, who was the lead assistant with the Grizzlies, to basically help implement this new offense. So I'm really curious to see what that looks like when it actually rolls out, how long it takes them to adjust. The classic media day thing is that you can say everything you want, but it's actually hard to execute it. So that was I'm curious how that plays out.
May I ask a question? I'm not even going to wait for an answer. May I ask a question? Yes, you can, Brandon. I have a question as an ignorant person, as a fan, essentially, with a microphone and a keyboard. It seems to me if a team wants to implement a new offense, that there would be some combination of, the coaches and the consultants and maybe even the GM or maybe even the ownership. And let's not even talk about that, but say we want this group of people to run this offense, right? That's part of it. I also have to imagine that part of it is either directly or indirectly the players are guiding, right? Like not just like the players that you have and what they're good at to maximize their potential value based on what they're comfortable with and good at, but potentially even asking the players, what do you all, right? What do you want to do? And I imagine that there has to be some combination of those two things, both the coaching and the players, that part of it is the coaches say, please do this, but part of it's got to be, hey, we have to be honest about who our players are. We don't want to make a group of players who can't do thing X do thing X because it won't end well. Did you get the sense at all about whether Chauncey Billups or any of the coaching staff had involved or at least considered the strengths of their players to help inform this new style of offense that they want to try to implement?
Yeah, well, what comes to mind is when Chauncey got here and tried to make Yusuf Nurkic like a hard trapping center, and it just was like, oh, this is not.
Go defend in space, Nurk. Like, I don't think it's.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think this was. I don't know if there's like involvement. It sounds like they aren't involved in the decision making, but definitely consideration, because this offense, it sounds like, in Memphis was kind. I watched some videos about Memphis. That's like one example, and you hear so much about. Like teams wanting to copy Indiana, and this is kind of that, like fast moving, like everybody's involved passing. I think it suits Denny really well, like because
he's
not like a huge pick and roll guy, but he's just like downhill. Oh, I have an angle, I'm in attack. Even Scoot, like at first I was like, oh well, Scoot loves pick and roll probably, but it also makes sense for him because he's kind of a chaos creator and just loves to put his head down. So it does match like the team personnel in that they have a lot of drivers. Tumani Kamara even said at practice the other day, like it makes sense for us because we don't have really a bunch of one-on-one or like one big one-on-one guy outside of really Shaedon Sharpe. So that part makes sense to me.
And I'm just thinking, and I'm not, Connor, it may surprise you, I'm not the most brilliant basketball mind in the world, but it kind of makes sense to me. Let's say that you have a team that cares very much about defense, for example, right? Let's say you have a team that wants to make them uncomfortable, which just we'll talk about it. It makes sense that, hey, if you're like pressuring and you're, forcing turnovers or forcing teams into bad shots, like, what are the offensive opportunities that will come from that? They're going to be, unstructured, potentially fast break, right? Like, and so to me, it kind of makes sense that you might want to lean into that type of offense more if that's the type of defense that you want. That's going to generate those possessions that may be a little bit more fluid and heltery-skeltery. Again, I'm not a basketball analyst, but it kind of makes sense to me.
I think that's basically what Chauncey said. So you and him are aligned.
Great.
He was like,
Chauncey Billups, hire me.
Yeah. We make him uncomfortable on defense is like the motto. And then he even said on offense, like we want to have that same energy of like mixing it up. So, and it sounds like they're going to do a lot more, not just pushing it on fast breaks off of turnovers, but even on made baskets. So yeah, it's kind of like an overall identity that they're trying to establish.
Cool. And like, again, this make them uncomfortable thing. I'm laughing because it's like media day in the beginning of the season, and you have these things that you say, and unfortunately, people can point at them later as remember when you said that thing and like it didn't happen, and so. I feel like there's a little like potential for that to be potentially thrown back in his face if the Blazers are not an elite defense, although they have all of the tools to be a very good defense. And I have a question actually to that point. Prediction time really quick. Do you think the Blazers will have a top 10 defense this year?
Yeah, I do. I think top 10 is within reach.
Cool.
top 5 is where I get like, I don't know. I think some of that depends on how good the offense is. It's like you got.
Were they like 15
They were
last year?
16th. Yeah.
Okay.
But in the last 41 games of the season,
let's take the small sample size from when
third best defense.
From where teams are really trying their hardest in the late days of March and April. Okay.
Cut you off. Sorry. Just one more point before we move on. You know who doesn't totally fit that all this stuff we're talking about, less pick and roll? Damian Lillard. So I am curious how, like, they're saying, oh, he will figure it out throughout the season. He can see where he fits in and he'll adapt. Well, we'll just see. Maybe he'll just be like the designated pick and roll guy when he comes back. But I'm difficult.
That's a problem for another year. But you're right. That's correct. And Damian Lillard is not going to suddenly change how he plays. Not going to happen. So it will be interesting when he does come back how they square that circle. But again, a problem for a different year. But let's keep going on Media Day. Again, you were there, and it started earlier than I would have thought. It started like I woke up and it was noon on the East Coast, and I was like, oh, I guess it's going to start at 3 o'clock Eastern. Nope, 9 a.m. Pacific start, Connor.
Yeah.
So what else? Wink. What else came from Media? What else came from Media Day that you thought might have been somewhat newsworthy?
Yeah, people have been pointing out the Jerami Grant answers.
Jerami Grant had some words, had some things to say.
He caused quite the stir, and I thought from inside the room where it happens, Brandon, I thought it was awkward. Some of his answers, and you kind of felt it in the room where it was kind of like, oh, yeah. And of course, I'm talking about when he was asked, do you consider, could you see like a role coming off the bench this year? Jerami just said, nah, I don't really expect that. And did not elaborate any further. And, maybe if somebody had asked a follow-up, he would have given a more nuanced answer perhaps. But I think it's telling that he just let it drop right there. And I was like, there's not anything beyond that.
It would have been easy for him to just say the canned answer of like, I'll do whatever the team asks of me. It's not like that doesn't bind you into anything to say that. I'm with you. I do think that answer, the fact that he chose to share that in the way that he did, I do think that means something. And I don't mean to get you into hot water, but where my mind goes, and we'll talk about the other comment that he made in a moment too, where my mind goes is where Chauncey Billups said, hey, I haven't decided on the starting lineups because I'm going to let the players essentially, decide it for me. I think Chauncey Billups said something of like, I'm not deciding the lineups.
I'm
the
just
players
the
are.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, coach, whatever.
But it's a pretty impressive answer, actually. Like it
is. It's stunningly insincere, and I while with a kernel of I kind of get where you're coming from, I kind of understand. Yes, like you want the players on the court to demonstrate that they do deserve or don't deserve to get the minutes that they're getting, and so I do get that. So I don't want to bash on him too much, but the point being, it seems to me very much, Connor, and you don't even have to say anything to this, but it seems to me that if Jerami Grant is comfortable saying, I haven't even thought about, I haven't even thought about coming off the bench. Jerami Grant's starting. I don't think it matters what Jerami Grant does in training camp. I don't think that Chauncey Billups is going to let somebody else play their way into a starting role. I think Jerami Grant's going to be starting to start the year. Again, I don't mean to put you in hot water or put you on the spot, but I'm just curious what you think about my opinion on that. I am not, I guess, yes, I took it as, oh, he's probably going to start after that comment. there's a potential that he doesn't.
obviously, but if I had to be a betting man after that comment, I was like, oh, okay, he's probably going to start. Like, it just seems like that's the expectation. And maybe Chauncey will tell him no. Like there's obviously a possibility for that, but just by reading the tea leaves, it seems like Jerami Grant will be a starter on day one.
The other comment that I agree with you. I agree with myself and you. The other comment that Jerami Grant made was something to the effect of what was the quote about him expecting to have been traded, or am I being too? I don't mean to put words in his mouth. I don't have it in front of me.
More or less, like he was asked this time in the spring or last spring, did you expect to be back this season? And he said, probably not. I definitely didn't. But
wait. Hold on. Probably not. I definitely didn't.
Yeah, that was. I wrote that in the I put the quote in, and I was like, do I take out the probably not and just put the I definitely didn't? But I decided to let the whole thing play out because it seemed like it was honestly that one was a moment of honesty that I kind of respected. I was like, okay, cool. He was asked a question and he said, yeah, I didn't expect to be here. And then he said,
but by the way, I don't begrudge him that at all.
No, and then he said that, but then he also said, but I'm happy to be here and like I'm happy with the direction with how things are going. So like it wasn't the just mic drop. I definitely didn't. And then just let it go. So, but that did turn some heads, and I think it speaks to this. Did you hear Joe Cronin's philosophy on guardrails? Did you hear that answer?
Enlighten me.
Oh, okay. So, and I think this gets into a constant theme on this podcast of role clarity. He was asked. It was a very good question from old Mike Richmond. And he was asked, you're saying, Joe Cronin, he asked Joe, you're saying you want to, you're saying you need these young guys to take leaps, but you also brought in two guys in their mid-30s this offseason. Like, how do you balance kind of both of those needs? And he said that they have taken on an organizational philosophy of guardrails, and he even said that might not be the best word, but like essentially we aren't going to let our guys like Scoot and Shaden, we're not just going to give them the ball in 36 minutes.
We're not going to let them drown.
Yeah, like we're not just going to let them go nuts and figure it out on their own. We have chosen to try to prioritize teaching them how to play the right way by surrounding them with competent veterans and to learn in that ecosystem.
And that, I think, is very fair, and that's what we talked about. And now I can't, Connor, we've recorded so much lately, I can't remember which episode it was that, when people, national media were like, I don't know what the Blazers are doing. And my response is, what they're doing is they're trying to build a team around the young players that's like competent enough and structured enough that they can evaluate the young players. And I think that that's what Joe Cronin said. So again, Joe Cronin, hire me. No, I mean, and it's not, this is not some like revolutionary thought, but I believe that. Like, that makes sense to me. The Damian Lillard thing, I think, is separate for a whole lot of reasons. Yeah, and
that's a complex thing.
Right. The Drew Holiday thing in particular, I can buy it. And so okay, Jerami Grant, we talked about it. Anything else from Media Day? Like, I was curious, like, how did Drew Holiday, Sorry, can I make just
one more point about the Jerami?
You can. This is your show, in fact. So yes, you can do whatever you want.
I'm on the bill, man. I just think that the guardrail philosophy, like we've talked about, we see it, we kind of get it. This is just when it starts to sometimes have some problems, and it's when you start to have more butting of heads, and it seems like Jerami Grant maybe expected to be traded. Maybe the organization thought he would be traded over the summer. He is back. And like here now, people who don't understand this philosophy, this is probably why they think it's a problem, is because when you should maybe give the reins to Shaden Sharp and center things around him more, you still have Jerami Grant, who is, I think, still could be still a good player. I think he could be much better than he was last year. So this is when you start to see the awkwardness and sometimes like dysfunction of where that is. And when I just also say this whole Jerami Grant thing, it has the potential for dysfunction. I don't think we're there yet. Like, that statement wasn't like a freaking bomb that dropped on this season. Like, it just is.
Right.
It's just a potential for dysfunction. Like, we'll see what happens.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I wanted to talk about something briefly. I know that we don't have the most time in the world, but the thing about the Jerami Grant, I hadn't even considered coming off the bench thing. It seems to me that the Blazers are making a calculation that Jerami Grant's current contract. Okay, sorry, separate statement. Jerami Grant on his current contract is not easily tradable, and he is absolutely negative value. There's no doubt about that. And by not easily tradable, I mean you'd have to attach so much stuff to his contract, given his current production last year, that the Blazers would have no organizational impetus to make that trade. Now, it seems that the Blazers are making a bet that they can rebuild Jerami Grant's value and then trade him later. I don't think that's totally unfair if that's what's happening, but here's what I would caution. There's somebody else on this team who, at some point, actually pretty soon, will be due a new contract, who is represented by Clutch Sports. That person, his name is Shaedon Sharpe. And the problem that I see potentially happening is that you are over... dang it, I had this great thought and it just wafted out of my head, but I'm concerned that the team is overly focused on rebuilding Jerami Grant's trade value, and in so doing, they are going to either piss off Shaedon Sharpe or tank his value, and that would not be great either, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. Yeah,
at a certain point, like, they're making decisions to prioritize one over the other. And that's what you're.
That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, and
which I'm not even saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying it's fraught.
No, yeah, it's the potential for dysfunction.
And one more thing about that, and maybe I won't ask you this as a question. I'll just leave it to our listeners. Do you think that Jerami Grant is going to play better this year?
I do.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
You talk about this like new offense and that we're going to make them uncomfortable. We're a defense first team. Like, there was a time where Jerami Grant was like a plus defender. I think that time has passed. I think it may have permanently passed. I also I'm not sure he's interested in it. I mean, he had the opportunity to go back to Denver in a supporting role on a team that eventually won the championship, with the same amount of money, but he didn't want to do that. Instead, went to Detroit again for the same amount of money to be the guy. I think that tells, and also he re-signed with the Blazers, knowing full well that Damian Lillard was leaving. That's me speculating. My point is, I don't think Jerami Grant's interested in being like an energy defense hustle guy. I don't think that's what he wants to do. So if that's what you're asking him to do next year, and you think you're going to rebuild his value, I'm skeptical, and that's where I get into this is a little uncomfortable for me now as a fan, knowing that Shaedon Sharpe is going to want and need reps, and, either to keep him on the team long-term or to build up Shaedon Sharpe's value, he's going to need that time and those reps. Sorry, off my soapbox.
No, yeah, well, and I do think Jeremy's his help side defense I thought was pretty good last year. Like, I did think he was coming in, but I hear what, like, I guess the hope is, and Joe said this, like, the hope is they just seize it. The young guys seize the thing, the starting role or the priority. I think there's going to be. It's not like Shaedon Sharpe's not going to play, but yeah, it's just it's fraught. I don't exactly know what point I'm trying to make, but
no, it's fair. I mean, and all to say that, like, I think this kind of stuff I think it's interesting. As a fan, I do think it's interesting. I don't consider this to be like the drama of the NBA. I consider this to be like the very real, like, human considerations of running an organization that just happens to be very, very public, right? Like, imagine if like people were just nationally broadcasting the work that you did during your workday. That's kind of what they do. It's all very public. And so
see me just smacking chips while I write articles like man, yeah.
Oh man, see me log into that Teams meeting and see me saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you some time back." That'd be really riveting television. Connor, was there anything else from Media Day that you found compelling that you wanted to touch on before we call it?
Just that they said they were asked, is the playoffs the expectation? And they were kind of like, maybe. Like, we'll see. It just, like, it was a bit of a hedge. And I was like, okay.
I mean, what are they going to say?
Yeah, no. So, like, but just, I was like, okay, like, they're not being bold about expectations this year. So I took that as interesting.
Which is a little different from when they had the Damian Lillard press conference. They felt like they were leaning into that.
It was a little different from winning time. It was like,
which
it's winning time and we're back.
Yeah, but it's so hard. Like, I don't know, these events they can be interesting and they can be revealing, but they're only interesting and revealing in so much as people are willing to go off script, which is why the Jerami Grant stuff was the most interesting and compelling part of Media Day, is because he said something honest that wasn't particularly scripted. And when the team instead is like, oh, we're trying to win and we're maybe going to make the playoffs, maybe not, it's like, what are you going to really glean from that? Anything else before we wrap it?
No, let's wrap it. I'm about to head to day 2 of training camp, which is
30 seconds. What do you expect or hope to see day 2 of training camp?
Well, day 1, Chauncey said there was all basically defense. So I'm curious if today was all basically offense. You know, I'm because I had all these questions.
There are
prepared.
2 sides of the ball.
There are, and I had all these questions prepared yesterday about the offense because I was like, oh, it's new. This is exciting. Let's see what's going on. And then Chauncey, the first thing was like 90% defense today. So I was like, oh, all right. I need to.
Do they let you all actually view the practice, or is it just kind of after they keep?
No, we are in a room
ever since
upstairs.
Jason Quick peeked through the curtains. They don't let.
We're not even in that room anymore. They expanded the facility. I did get somebody pointed it out to me yesterday though. They said, "Oh, we used to be in that room," and I said, "Was that the infamous curtain peek room?" And they said, "Yes, it was." So a little landmark. This should be like a little plaque. Here is where Jason Quick looked through the curtains.
A little image of just guys, it's not the nuclear codes. Like, let the reporters look at your practice sometimes. Whatever. Well, anyway, I hope that you have a great time. And if you all want to have a great time with us, you can always do that at WeLikeTheBlazers.com. You can find our work, including Connor's recap of day 2 of training camp, at BlazersEdge.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky. I'm Brandon Mullen. That's Connor Bergen. I almost mispronounced my own last name. Still getting used to it. Mullen, Bergen, we appreciate you. Until next time, go Blazers.